Hello and welcome to another episode of the Manifest Direction. The Manifest Direction for new joiners is a medium where we mentor people in their personal lives, in their careers, and so on. On the last edition, we showed you how to construct your CV, and therefore, hopefully, we assume that you would have been successful and shortlisted for an interview. In this edition, we will walk you through the interview process, what kind of questions to generally expect, how to comport yourself, and how to therefore get the job after your interview. When you're called for an interview, there is anxiety for first-timers. And even old timers, there is anxiety because you are going to compete against several people. Relax, dress your best. Even if the place dresses down, you are going for an interview, dress up, dress formally, and get prepared. Now the interviewer is looking for attributes from you to put you on the job that you have applied for. So the worst that can happen is to say, sorry, we are not taking you. So don't take it so hard as if it's war and therefore increase your tension. No, relax. So typically, when you are seated before the interviewer, some interviewers may even offer you tea. You may say yes, you may say no. They are not going to judge you based on if you said yes or no to tea. It's an offer, or biscuit and the like. The interviewer, to calm you down and to create an atmosphere of conviviality, they could typically start with a question like, tell us about yourself. Now, that is not for you to speak too long about yourself, nor is it the time for you to say everything about me is in the CV. No. You could have somebody who writes well but who cannot communicate well. So they're asking you to say it in your own words, and it should be different from what you've said from the CV in terms of not material content, but in terms of choosing different words to describe who you are. Just briefly, tell us about yourself. You say your name, you say where you've been, what you've seen so far, and that you're looking forward to a good interview with them. They could ask you, why should you be hired for the opening that they are looking for to hire someone? Talk about your skills, talk about your qualification. You can also say that you had done a similar role in the past, therefore you think that you can fit that role. Talk about your strengths, talk about your fit for that role. When they ask you, why should you be hired for the job? They may ask you something like, what do you consider as your weaknesses? Everybody has weaknesses, but the tendency of human beings is to deny their weaknesses. So if you ask someone, what are your weaknesses? For a new person looking for a job, they try to say, I don't have any weakness. Or my weakness is that I work too hard. No, those are failing questions, failing responses. Don't respond like that. Talk about your weaknesses honestly and look at them as areas of improvement. Yes, you need to improve in this area. Anger management, for instance, you need to improve. It doesn't mean that when you admit to a weakness, you will be denied the job. In fact, I was privileged to interview many years ago, 15 years ago, a top level person, manager, and his previous place of work had dismissed him for slapping a colleague, fighting at work. So we asked him, why were you dismissed from that job? He told us, I lost my cool. I slapped a colleague who was finding my trouble. So we recognized it as his weakness, and then we asked him, what would you do what have you done since to learn from that experience? we learn from the mistakes that we make. So he said that he's learning how to control his temper. It's a work in progress. And true to type, we hired him because he was honest. We knew that we could also mentor him to drop his anger issue. So if they ask you, what are your weaknesses? Be frank about them. What are your hobbies? Yes, you wrote them in your CV, but you can talk about them in more detail if they ask you what your hobbies are, especially if they are hobbies that can rub off positively on the job you are seeking. For instance, some jobs, most jobs, in fact, need team players, except jobs like watching the control tower where you sit alone and you are vigilant. Otherwise, you work with people and you need to work as a team. So when you're talking about your hobbies and they relate to a team sport you did or a church activity you did, it rubs off positively on your quest for the job. Now, why do you want to leave your current employer? This is a tricky question because most people, again, go into defensive mode. They don't pay well. They don't talk to us as human beings. No. If you do that, your present, where you are seeking to be employed, they will be afraid of you because you may go and badmouth them when you are about leaving them. So why do you want to leave your current employment? You can talk about the quest for more challenges, how you want to grow personally, and so on. So that takes away being defensive or offensive about your current job. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Companies plan. There's a yearly budget, a yearly plan. There is a midterm plan. There is a long-term plan for companies. Companies like people that plan. So if you don't have planning as your discipline yourself, they may think that you may not work in a planning environment. So where do you see yourself in 5 years? Everybody should have ambition and should place himself at a level in 5 years. Now, don't say that I want to be an employer in 5 years. I want to run my own company in 5 years. No, because already you are telling these people that you are highly mobile and you will leave them. So avoid saying stuff like that, but say that I want to be a manager, I want to become a manager, I want to become a divisional head in 5 years. I see myself doing stuff like that. Will get you on track. You know, why do you want to work here? Why do you want to work with us? This calls for you to research about the place you have applied to work with. Know things about the place, so you can tell them the good things you've heard that are practiced there, and then you say that is why. Or you can say things like you see the way they reward staff, highly performing staff, with promotions, with growth, with bigger responsibilities, and that's why you want to come on board and join the team. Stuff like that will get you hired. Do you prefer to work alone or as a team? No answer is correct there, because every job has tasks that you need to work alone. Every organization, has people whose tasks are to work alone or as a team. So it depends on where you fit. They can put you in a solitary role, or they can put you in a team role. So just be frank and tell them that you are the kind of person who wants to work as a team or a lone ranger. It's not a deal breaker. That will not disqualify you for the job you seek if you say that. What are your salary expectations? Now, having researched the company, you will know that they have salary bands. So don't say, I want $1 million US a month. Say something that is reasonable and give a range. Between this and this will be fine for me. Such that you don't overprice yourself out of the job, or you don't underprice yourself. So be flexible and give a range that between this and this is okay for me to join the company. When they ask you about your salary expectations, they may ask you, What do you think makes a good team leader? In your opinion, what do you think makes a good team leader? You may go something like a good team leader sets the goals and drives the team to achieve the goals and assists the team where there are challenges such that the team can reach the goals, and also gives feedback to team members such that there is constant improvement until the goal of the team is achieved. That's what you will say. What is your biggest failure? What has been your biggest failure? Also be frank. Talk about places where you failed, one or two instances where you failed, and what you've done since to correct, to prevent such failure in future. It's not going to disqualify you in the interview you go for if you say that. Some people work, then they leave employments. Maybe they are sacked, maybe they resign on their own, maybe they went to school. Then it takes time before they have the next job. Mark, you on your CV, when you put the jobs you have done, you put the dates from January to August 2017, I did this. So some employers would find gaps in your CV between this time and this time. What were you doing? It's not accounted for. You were doing, your CV doesn't say what happened. Why is there a gap in your CV? Also explain truthfully, because employers will sniff around and find out why there was that gap. If you don't give truthful answers, if you were sacked, say you were sacked, it won't stop you from this role if you demonstrate that you are going to add value in this role. So basically, those are the kind of questions they will ask you generally. The rest of the questions will be in specific areas that you seek to work. If you are an IT person, they will ask you then computer questions. If you are a credit person, they will ask you risk analysis and so on. The interview process is an interaction. So after the potential employer has finished asking you his questions, he asks you normally, do you have any questions for us? And it is not bad to ask questions. Don't ask too many questions, but also ask them questions. For instance, how do you measure performance, individual performance in your company? How do you measure individual performance? Because I like to perform, so I like to add value to your company. So I want to know, how do you measure? How will I know if I have performed? Then you sit back and they will explain to you. We have a performance management unit. They track how many accounts you've opened. They track what revenues you brought to the pool. They measure things like how many people you have converted, how many people you've grown in the company, and all of that is put together to then reward you. So it's not a bad question to ask them. Also, you could ask them, are there growth opportunities in the company? I'm joining just as a new entrant, but can I grow in the company if I then meet the performance tasks that are assigned to me? And what are those opportunities? They may tell you that, yes, today you are starting in Abuja, but we plan to go to Ghana, we plan to go to London in the next 5 years, and we will be using our staff who are in-house to send to those places to pioneer. Those are growth opportunities, apart from promotions. Lastly, you can ask them something like, when can I expect to hear from you? It's not bad to say, to ask your potential employer when you will hear from them. But if you finish the interview without asking, and as soon as you step out, you start calling them, how did I perform? Are you calling me? It's not professional. When they give you the time, the chance to ask them questions, you can ask, when do you expect to hear from them? Some will just say soon. Don't press them and say how soon, which day. No. Some will tell you, well, within the quarter, 3 months from now. Some will tell you within a month and so on. Some will ask you, why do you want to know? It's not offensive for you to get back and say, so you can plan your resumption and so on. So basically, that is how an interview session works, and that is what you can do to pass your interviews with flying colors. Thank you very much for listening to this episode.